Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Carrie and today I'm doing my November book haul. I originally wasn't going to film it today, which is November 30th, because I was expecting a book to arrive today and I wanted to include it because it's still November. However, that just arrived, so I get to do this. That said, let's get into the books. I have a problem. I buy a lot of books, but that's okay. So we'll start with my Black Friday haul because it's the biggest pile. I got 11 books on Black Friday, many of them signed because Barnes & Noble does that great thing where they have signed editions of books. So, the first one is The Princess Saves Herself in This One by Amanda Lovelace. This is a collection of poetry with a very feminist bent. It does have a lot of triggers in it, such as rape, abuse, eating disorders, etc. There's a whole list of them in the front of the book, but it is a phenomenal book. Also, I just really like the fact that the dust jacket is black and the cover is hot pink. It's great. And this one is signed. Next, I got Treasury of Swashbuckling Adventures. It's just one of those collections that Barnes & Noble sells for pretty cheap. I couldn't resist it because it's pirates, and who doesn't love pirates? Then I actually did get a classic, which is Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I have this on my Kindle because they have all those free classics on your Kindle, but I really wanted this to be in a hard copy since it's a journey story, and journey stories are really hard for me to read, especially when they're this big. I've been dreading reading this book, but I will read it sometime in the next 2 years. Next is one that was honestly just a cover/title buy for me, and that is The Burning Time, Henry VIII, Bloody Mary, and the Protestant Murders of London by Virginia Rounding. The title pretty much says it all. Mary Tudor, who is Henry's first daughter and eldest because everybody else except Edward and Elizabeth died in their infancy, becomes queen in 1553 and decides that England has to become Catholic again. So she does this, or attempts anyway, by burning about 300 Protestants at the stake for their Protestant heretical beliefs. The next one is Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. I primarily got this just because it's signed and I thought, why not? But I don't necessarily have any particular interest in reading it. However, I have heard from Haley in Bookland's videos that this is actually a really good collection of fairy tale based Grisha verse fairy tales. I think that's correct. So it should be a decent read and it's signed. Just to continue on that streak, I then got The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, also a signed copy. I got this one because my friend in Nicaragua again read this in high school and really loved it. It's a war story, it's a little bit tougher, but both of those sound right up my alley. And then I also got a signed copy of In the Midst of Winter by Isabel Allende. I've read one of Isabel Allende's works, Island Beneath the Sea. I listened to that one on audiobook and didn't particularly like it, but I think part of that was the narrator. I'm hoping that this book will be better and that reading it, even if it's not in the original Spanish, will be more pleasurable than listening to it on audiobook, and it's signed. And then I got a signed copy of One Dark Throne. I got this thinking that it was the first one, and then I got it home and realized that it's the second one, so the first one's coming up. This is also a signed copy. The first and second one have to do with 3 queens who have to kill each other, or princesses who have to kill each other to become queen. That's all I know. And then I got a book that I was really, really excited about, which is Misty Copeland, Her Life in Motion, An Unlikely Ballerina. Also a signed copy. I love the ballet. I danced when I was younger. Not necessarily well, but I danced. And so seeing Misty Copeland become this amazing dancer through everything that she's been through as a dancer was great. I still want to see the documentary on Netflix, and I definitely want to read this book. Almost done with Black Friday. The next one is Fate of Flames by Sarah Raleigh. This one sounds kind of like Buffy the Vampire, but with 4 girls who each represent a different element. Beyond that, I don't know. I just kind of didn't control myself on Black Friday. And then the last one from my Black Friday shopping is How to Be a Tutor by Ruth Goodman. I've said this multiple times, so if you've watched more than one, you've probably figured it out by now. I am obsessed with the Tudors. proud of it. Love them. So when I saw a book that said how to be a tutor, I mean, no brainer, right? I had to get it. And that's all of them for Black Friday. Now, we move into the books that I got just throughout the course of November in general. The first one is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I found this one from Joss over at Schools Reads. It sounds really good and it sounds very different from what I usually read, which is a lot of Western Europe based fiction or nonfiction. And so I am very excited to read this one, which takes us over to Singapore. And then one of them I got for school. It's a book I saw in my professor's office when we were going over my paper about the Maasai Kosa and the Zulu. And that is African Women, 3 Generations by Mark Mathabane. Last name pronunciation may be off, I apologize. This follows 3 different generations of women in South Africa in kind of the apartheid era, which started in 1948. That's all I know, but it sounded really good, and since I'm writing a paper about women's roles in the Maasai Kosa and Zulu and their respective countries, I thought this might be a good idea. Then I also got The Bloody Black Flag by Steve Gowell. This one is a pirate murder mystery, basically. It sounds pretty good. I'm really glad I had a coupon though, because it's less than 300 pages and they want $16 for it. I don't know why books are so expensive, but they are. It was on sale because I had a coupon, so I got it. Next one I also had a coupon for. I have this thing where I get coupons for Barnes & Noble and I just buy everything in sight, more or less. And so this one was a coupon for a children's book, and so I got Sleep Like a Tiger by Mary Logue. It just looked cute. I like tigers, and I didn't particularly feel motivated to buy any of the other children's books I found, so I got this one instead. And then I've talked about this one before in my 5 mini book reviews and also in my November TBR, and that is Owen by Tony Riches. This follows Owen Tudor, who is sort of the start of what we consider the famous Tudors. He has 2 sons, Jasper and Edmund. Edmund is the one who has Henry VII, and Henry VII obviously starts the Tudor dynasty that has Henry VIII, Edward VI, Mary I, and Elizabeth I. And then it ends there because we've got a whole bunch of problems. But anyway, so this follows Owen in the 1420s through more or less the end of his life when he is executed. He marries Catherine of Valois, who is the Dowager Queen of England, and that's why Henry VII has a claim to the throne of England several years later. Then I got another one for school, but this one's a different paper. I'm taking a First Amendment class, and so I have to write a paper on wartime restrictions on speech. Well, I don't have to, but I am. So I got Perilous Times, Free Speech in Wartime by Jeffrey R. Stone. This is actually a great book for the historical aspect of my paper, hence the reason I got it, because the library copy is great, but I wanted to be able to mark it up. Then I realized that I've been calling a lot of works Hemingway-esque, except that I don't actually know what Hemingway-esque means beyond what I read in The Paris Wife. I don't read Hemingway. That is to say, I have not read Hemingway before. Any of it, actually, so I decided it was time I finally read some Hemingway. I bought The Old Man in the Sea by Ernest Hemingway for that purpose. It was the first one that came up on Amazon, and I said, why not? I don't know what it's about. I assume an old man in the sea, because that's kind of the title. Then I got the third one in what I believe is a trilogy by one of my all-time favorite authors, Mercedes Lackey. I still haven't read the second one in this trilogy because there's just so many books. You will find that that is a recurring problem with my reading schedules, is that I just will buy a whole series and then not read it because I found 2 other series and 7 standalones. It's a huge problem. But that is Closer to the Chest, which is book 3 in the Herald Spy. This follows a young man who's this great spy. They picked him up off the street and now he has to save the kingdom, because that's what all of her books are about, are saving the kingdom from whether it's war or a sorcerer, etc. Love her books. And then the one that I mentioned earlier, which just arrived, is 3 Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake. Like I said, I got One Dark Throne at Black Friday and then realized it was the second one when I got it home. I had to make sure that I was not getting it for Christmas, this one I mean, and I'm not, so I bought it myself so that I could actually read it, so that I could read One Dark Throne, because I can't really read the second one without reading the first one. But yeah, 3 princesses who have to kill each other to be queen, and apparently they don't, because there's a second book where they're all alive, I think. I haven't read it, so I don't know, but I'll let you know. Those are all of my books for my November haul. I did tell you I have a problem. I buy way too many books. I mean, there's not such a thing as too many books, but it's, well, it can be murder on your pocketbook. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button down below. As always, I will link my Goodreads if you want to check out what books I've been reading ever, because I've put every single book I can possibly remember reading in my Goodreads. But that's all I have for today, so I will see you later with another video. Bye.